What's up, guys? We're here at the Salt Palace Convention Center. We'll go do some interviews, talk to a bunch of people, have some fun. It's freezing out here. Let's go inside. We have Alex Hall. She is the business consultant, solar, not only in solar, but in all parts of door to door. So Alex, first of all, talk about like, what do you do besides, so I know you're in solar, doing big things in solar now, but besides solar, what industries are you working in?
Yeah, so CEO of Shut the Fluff Up, we handle all things growth strategy. So mainly we are doing recruiting, retention, and sales performance. We don't only do solar, but we do all direct sales, parts of the industry, pest control, roofing, etc. We've started working in manufacturing. We've got a company we consult in financial tech. So really just anything recruiting and sales systems.
And you're not only doing recruiting, you're helping businesses start their whole recruiting systems.
That's right.
So talk about that with businesses. Like if they have no idea how to recruit, they're maybe an installer and they're starting their sales program. Like what's some quick tip you can give an installer or a company just starting their recruiting process?
Oh my gosh, quick tip.
Yeah, so something, doesn't have to be the whole thing.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is how you talk about recruiting and you talk about the job. So a lot of people, you're excited about the role, right? You want to bring people on board. You are excited to pull them into your company. So the way you talk about it may end up sounding a little desperate. It may sound a little bit like you're recruiting them for an MLM. If you catch yourself saying things like, oh my gosh, you're gonna make so much money here. Like, I can't wait to have you on board. You're gonna crush it. Like that actually is a turnoff for a lot of people. They wanna feel like the job is exclusive and like they're getting something that's hard to get. So instead you wanna shift that mentality over to really feeling like, we're super picky about who we bring on board. I'm happy to give you an interview, but let's kind of figure things out before I just go ahead and, bring you on board and say those types of things. So if you can shift that psychology, I think that would be my biggest tip. That's the first one.
So everybody knows the brand Quativa, but a lot of people don't know exactly what it does.
Yes.
It's kind of connector, kind of a middleman. Can you just talk more in depth about that?
Yeah, so Quativa is an all-in-one solution, essentially, that connects sales organizations with installation partners. So we have a single app. If you look behind me, you can see it says one app, a network of installers, and every tool you need to sell solar. So essentially what we do, there's a lot of great companies that are out there that do individual aspects of selling solar, right? You've got the sales rabbits and solos and everything. They do like a piece of the process. Yeah. What we've done is actually integrated the entire process into a single stack. So we allow you to do everything. So a sales rep can actually draw territory, go in, knock the door, create the lead, communicate with that lead, go back, set the appointment, generate a proposal, actually draw the design of the solar array, generate the proposal, get the financing done right there, sign documents, and then as soon as that's done, we connect you to one of the installers on our network. So it's a full integrated solution. It's no cost to use.
Can you talk more about the installers and the network, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of reps out there want to work with a specific installer. Do you work with all the installers? Or what if they work with someone that's not in your network? Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing to remember, and I'm going to say this directly at anybody that's watching this, is Quativa is not an installer. And so a lot of people are like, oh, so we got to use, it's what we're doing is essentially, it's if you think about how Uber connects you to a driver,
yep.
Right? So there's a whole bunch of drivers that are on the network of Uber, and you don't know who you're getting, but you know that they're going to be vetted and that they're quality, and then you can even choose which one you're going to get based on whether they're qualified at certain levels or not like that, right? You want Uber X or you want to get Uber Platinum or whatever it may be. So what we do is we vet and we take a look at all financials and everything else with the installers that we're working with. We actually are rolling out brand new integrations. Are about 80% complete with all of the installers that are on our network, so that we get direct updates from their system to ours, so there's no lag in information, stuff like that. If you've got an installer that you love, bring them to the table. We'll vet them, we'll work with them, and then we will actually go through and bring them onto the platform.
You are one of the masters of lead generating in the solar industry. Now, there's a lot of reps who don't have a lot of money, but they want what you're giving. They want these leads. What's the best way for a rep that's not making any money right now, but wants those leads from you?
Yeah, so I think if you're just starting out and you don't really have the capital to invest in online leads yet, start on the doors, right? Start on the doors, get some deals in the pipeline, maybe buy some age data. Like we have aged YouTube leads from clients of ours that are no longer with us that we can give you as well. And get some sales that don't cost you that much or are free because you're just spending your time knocking. And then what we do is we implement like a digital plus door strategy. Once you have some commissions running through, coming in, you can actually start geo-targeting on YouTube and get some high quality appointments. And then you get these sales that close at these appointments close at like 60, 70, 80% of the time because they're really high quality on YouTube. And then you could just knock all the doors on that street and around the corner and turn one sale into 3. Yeah. And then you really get some momentum going, get to 10, 20, 30 deals a month. That's when you can really start putting gas in the fire and start spending, 5K, 10K, 20, 30, 50K a month to get to like 100 deals a month. And that's what our clients do.
The bottom line is get started and then reinvest in yourself.
Exactly.
And just keep doing that. Eventually you'll get further with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's up, guys? We're here with Josh Peters, the owner of Ironclad Consulting or Ironclad Recruiting.
Yep.
So the owner of Ironclad Recruiting. So we were just talking in there, and we were talking about recruiting and systems and how businesses should implement their systems. And Can you just talk a little more about that? We were talking about?
Absolutely. The first thing I was talking to you about is kind of the passion and why I do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's what we were talking about. The opportunity and what we've gained from being in door-to-door is huge.
It's amazing.
Right? Like you're part of one of the biggest solar conventions in the world, just from what? Knocking the door.
Literally,
right?
20
it
years
all
ago.
started out 20 years ago, knocking the door.
Talking to somebody.
Right? And so a big passion of mine is I want to help people implement better systems, processes, and trainings, so that way people who get into door-to-door have a better shot of succeeding. Because the traditional way of doing it a lot of times isn't great, because you get someone in and you're like, it's going to suck, you have to be the best, and you might not work out, right? And it's just this weird,
They try to hire 20 people and then 18 people fail.
And they don't care. Yeah, they don't care. It's like, if we get one performing from
that's
this,
literally
that's
their
it,
model,
right?
So what do you do with the other 18 people? Right?
And then they get a bad taste in their mouth from door to door, right?
And then they talk shit to other people,
exactly.
and other people think it's a bad job.
Yeah, and so my goal is to bring more professionalism to the actual systems and processes and onboardings of recruiting, and then also allow you to get a high flow of candidates in and maintain and retain those as well. Because, like I said, a big passion of mine is all the success I've had over the last almost 6 years now of being in door-to-door has come from knocking the door, right? And so I believe that everyone deserves that opportunity to get into door-to-door and have success, and it's our responsibility as business owners to create that opportunity and allow as many people as possible to succeed. It all starts with recruiting. If you don't have professional interviews, if you don't have professional onboarding, if it isn't an actual system where people can get plugged in and they feel like they're part of a company, it won't work. Right, and it will only work for that 1 or 2% of people that are going to stick it out, right?
It's also kind of similar to conferences, right? Like, so door to door is talking to people and trying to get them to another stage in whatever relationship you are, right?
Yep.
People should be doing that at conferences, right? Like, same exact thing. Like, talk to everybody, build those relationships.
1000%.
Talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you? I see you doing a lot of talking at conferences. How do you do that? Build a relationship.
So a big thing for me is social media, right? Half the people I talk with here are people I met on social media first, right? And so it's so funny to meet them in person. Like, we've been talking in the DMs for years, right?
You're way taller in person. Everybody tells you that,
Everyone
right?
tells you that. And then the funny thing is, do you know Luke Masecco?
No.
With Growth to Success. So everyone thinks we're twins. They have a recruiting
They
consulting.
call him Josh.
Well.
Yo, Josh. No,
every time, right? But that's the cool thing is, so it's like a part of what I like to do, and the reason why I got into consulting is because I love building relationships, And because the more people you surround yourself who are successful, the more opportunity you have.
That's literally the reason my success is putting the right
Yeah.
people around me.
And the funny thing for me is I've never claimed to be super smart.
Yep.
Right? It's like I'm not super smart. I just know how to like find a good thing and find good mentors and then build off of their experience.
That means you are super smart if you don't think you're super smart because you're trying to improve yourself so that you're not. And that's the way, actually, just to talk about it, but that's the way I play poker.
Really?
Right. So the better I think I am at poker, the worse I play.
That
right?
makes sense.
And
Yeah.
it's like you overplay and you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing, blah, blah. But once I get my mind, no, I'm not good. And I got to really focus and really try hard because I'm not good. All of a sudden I play my best.
Well, what's interesting about that too is because I do a lot of training for like new reps and things like that and help build out those processes. And one of the first things I'll tell people is like, you're going to think that you're smarter than the system and you're going to try and make your pitch better than what it is, right? And as soon as you start doing that, reps will start getting into this funk where they're not setting appointments. I'm like, go back to the basics. Like, don't try and outsmart it. If it works, use it, right? And so that's a big thing of like why I enjoy creating the systems and implementing it at companies, because it works. I've been doing it the last 4 years. It works, right? And so
100%.
if you have that in place, and it's very hard to fail because you're using systems that work for everybody.
What's up, guys? We're here with Taylor Armstrong of Solarpreneur and way more. This guy is one of the top consultants out there in the solar business. I love his content. I've seen you on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm more Instagram, but I love your content you're doing out there. First, I want to talk about before Taylor Armstrong was on podcasts and on me creating content. Was it always easy? Was it always simple? Like, what made you start? Like, was it always like, how to get you out of into that comfort zone to make it like so easy for you to do now?
Yeah, man, no, it's a good question, and appreciate the love. Learned a ton from you myself, but yeah, for me, it's just anything in life. You got to be consistent. Whether it's knocking on doors, whether you're surfing, trying to catch the wave. It's like how many waves can you get on? So same thing. If you're trying to create content, you just got to do it over and over and over, and you got to realize that no one's listening at first. For the first couple of years, barely had any listeners, but I don't know, as you start to gain momentum, it's just like almost like going to the gym or something. You don't want to stop it. So, it's like, oh, if I stop now, then I'm going to lose all the gains I made. So that's the point I'm at with the podcast, just going to keep it going. So it's like twice a week. And I feel like weird, probably same thing on you on Facebook. It's like you almost feel weird if you're not showing up doing it. So it just kind of becomes a lifestyle.
Speaking of consistent, you're always bringing out that kind of content, and it kind of like similar to me, like just whatever it is, like make content of it. If you're in the solar industry, you're a solar rep, take a video of you talking about you going to the homeowner. I've seen you doing that. You talk to homeowners, ask them, why did you go solar today? And they'll tell you, not only are you helping reps, you're helping homeowners understand it, right? So talk about that, like you can literally be a first day rep and make content, right?
Yeah, it helps a ton.
Talk about like how you do with homeowners.
Well, yeah, it's just like, because I think some people get in their heads, they're like, oh, I don't want to like jeopardize the sale if I ask my customer for a testimonial or whatever. So they get nervous. But the thing is, these objections we create in our minds, most people, they're not even thinking about that. It's just in our heads. So if you just make it natural, just start creating content, it just kind of becomes the lifestyle, same thing. So yeah, I just carry the camera around, asking for a quick testimonial, buy super cheap stuff on, little mics, clip-on mics and all that on Amazon and get it rolling. So yeah,
does it help any other way? Like you're getting content out there, but does it make homeowners stickier? Like does it make them feel more special? Does it get more referrals, anything like that when you do that?
100%, because they're selling themselves back to you. Like I get on camera and say, hey, what did you like about this? Why did you decide to go solar? And then they're selling themselves back on the decision they just made, and they're justifying the decision they made. So if anything, even if you're not using it in other like appointments you have, it's helping solidify your customers. And then even better, you can go to other appointments in the area, say, hey, do you know this person, by the way? Then it's just like, just like keeping up with the Joneses. Everyone wants to do what their neighbor's doing.
We're just a couple of serial entrepreneurs talking here. So this is Ben Heffron, and is that cool if I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, you bet.
All right, this is one of my favorite people in the solar industry. And he's actually a business guy, right? He's a serial entrepreneur. But a lot of reps dream of that, right? They want to become that. And yes, anybody can be 1099, become an independent contractor, call themselves a business. But to be successful, right, you have to think 10 steps ahead, think like a chess player. Can you talk about like what kind of things should reps do to lay the groundwork to be successful as a business owner later if they're a rep today?
Yeah, absolutely. Primary thing that I've noticed in people, in order for you to take the next step, you need to think about the next step. If you're focused on what can I buy with this commission check, what can I do for me, if you're all about you, you're not going to be able to take that next step effectively and efficiently. You need to start planning and putting your money to work for you to be able to take that next step. Look at where you want to go and focus on that journey and that goal instead of, what kind of shiny shit can you put on your wrist.
We're here with Tyler McAllister, founder of Fusion Power, co-founder of Fusion Power. And can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people are getting into the solar industry from other sales backgrounds, right? Because it's like, why not? You make a lot of money. It's good for the planet. You can see it in the future. So a lot of people going into the solar industry, right? But they may have a great sales background, insurance, car sales, roofing, whatever it is. What's the best strategy for somebody who has a great sales background but doesn't really know solar but wants to get into the solar industry?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to get into a vehicle that can operate at the same capacity and the same level that you can. You don't want to jump into a new startup, small, like trying to figure systems out. I would really, if you're a polished novice salesman, I would make sure that you're getting in a vehicle that's a well-oiled machine that can handle your volume, that can handle your business. At that point, process is going to be really important to you. Systems and processes are going to serve you really well because you're going to go out there and be able to make a lot of promises to customers that you need to make sure those promises are going to be upheld, and you're not in control of all those promises coming to fruition. So having a company that's got a lot of integrity, a good track record behind them is going to serve you really well. Okay. And on top of that, if you're jumping in a well-oiled machine, there's going to be other sales beasts in that organization that's going to really push you and pull those competitive juices out of you to help you perform at top performance. So that's something I would look at.
What's up, guys? We're here with Peter Almeida with Core Energy Solar. And I was really talking to you before, and we were talking about new reps that are in the solar industry that maybe didn't start off with instant success, right? Maybe they're struggling a little bit. What are some tips? What should struggling reps who are new to the solar industry, what tips would you give them?
Learn. There's a lot of information out there in the industry from a lot of guys just like yourself. I know you guys do the Solar Academy, which is amazing. There's a lot of information, so just try to absorb what you can, kind of like we were learning earlier today about what's on the same frequency as you. And solar is a very simple process. It's just about how to educate your homeowner and give them that information in a way that they're going to understand it. So really, I would just focus on trying to help the consumer, the customer, because solar sells itself.
We are here with the one and only Brent Attaway, follow of fortunes, so much more. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Okay.
Ask away.
So you are known as the follow-up fortunes king, right?
Right.
Now, a lot of reps, not me, but a lot of reps don't follow up the way they should, right? And it's not because they don't want to. They want to follow up. They want to make the money of those leads. So you can make more money. They want that, but they don't. Maybe it's like how many, right? Like, yeah, I have to get 1 out of 100. That's not worth it. I'd rather get new leads. What kind of tip can you give somebody who's not following up anymore because they're focused on the new leads?
I would say the reason why people don't, first to understand why I wouldn't or you wouldn't or any of us would, is because we're so busy trying to figure out getting the new leads, and then one falls through, and so we got to go get some more, all those things. It's in the end, it's because you're putting it on your phone and your notes somewhere, or you might have like an app like a Sales Rabbit, if you're knocking, that is, not everyone's knocking. And what's happening is you're not taking that data and making use of it. So the only way you can really follow up and still close deals, if you're a closer, you should stay closing. Your 80% of your time should go towards closing. Yeah. But that other 10, 15, 20% should go towards, all right, how's my pipeline doing? Because if you think about it, you don't need a pipeline if all you do is close. So why even talk about a sales pipeline?
True.
So what is a sales pipeline? It's always following up. That's what it is. So sales pipeline saying, okay, here's where my deals are. Here's where they are paused or maybe fell through, and how can I follow up? Typically, is you don't know what to say, who to even follow up with because you didn't keep records of it, right? And then you don't know when to do it because you just met with them last week. Should I send this, and what should I send, and all that crap. It's just what is that? Paralysis by analysis. Uh-huh. That's it. Because it actually doesn't take a lot of time to follow up. So that's the easy answer. It's like if you just organize yourself, there's a few little tips in there, and you can do that. You can go get my book, and it'll show you.
Follow Up Fortunes.
Yeah, Follow Up Fortunes, the book. It literally just breaks it down for you how to use it, and inside of it, even a CRM to use it, any CRM.
This is not only Brady Slack, this is the tax expert of the solar industry. Ever since he entered and started for free helping the solar industry with advice, he's been throughout the industry being known for his expertise and help. And for me especially, whenever I have a question that like, it's over my head, I'm like, Brady, please help. So I really appreciate you all the time. Can I ask you a question right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so since your expertise is, not only tax but financing, talk about what reps who are not really good with their money, right? Like they make a lot of money sometimes, right? And then they're like, oh, you need the money. They need to buy something. They have to wait for their next check. Like, why are you living on your next check? Like, what kind of advice would you give a rep who's struggling, who make a lot of money but still living paycheck to paycheck?
We take our clients through a simple 3-step process. First, we help them simplify their finances. We help them reduce kind of the unnecessary expenditures that they have or reduce the complexity around their structure. Obviously, we help them reduce their stress levels. And then we help them start to produce, right? And in that production phase, we're able to help them understand that, hey, we can take more of our money and buy assets, or we can invest, or we can reinvest that money into ourselves so that we can make more money. And I think there's just a lot of stigma, there's a lot of taboo around that. And if they actually sat down and understood it, they'd be so much better off.
Should they reach out to you, or should they get an app? Like, what's the best advice do you tell them? Like, this is what you could do right now.
Talk to me. I mean, let's cut the BS. Just call me.
There you go.
No, I'm happy to help answer any questions. We provide free consultations to anyone who'd be interested in that, and we can kind of determine what your situation's like and how we might be able to help you.
You heard it here. This is not Jens Bunnell. No, this is not Jens Bunnell. This is Jens Bunnell.
Yes,
Get
sir.
it right, baby. This is actually one of my favorite guys. This is the type of guy, when you talk to him, he actually looks in your eyes, actually engages, listens to you, has a real conversation. He cares. And so I really appreciate you. I want to say that first.
Thank you. Appreciate
Can I ask you a
that.
quick question?
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's
so
get it.
we want to help the industry, right?
Yeah.
And we're at a door-to-door event, but solar too. A lot of times, reps are making large amounts of money, right? And they get excited. They're like, yes, I hit the lottery here. And then they get through a funk where now they're not making the money. They're going through not so many deals being closed, right? But it's an emotions game, right?
Yeah.
Like you can get those highs, you're like, yeah, and you spend all your money and then it's gone, you're depressed and you're like, oh, what do we do? And how do you deal with that? How do you teach your rep? How do they deal with that balance of highs and lows in the sales industry?
Yeah, you hear a lot about the solar coaster, right?
Yeah.
And it's so true. The highs and lows are real. What I always say is we hear a lot about, you can't get too high, you can't get too low, and I call BS on that, honestly. It's because if we all just try to stay middle ground, melancholy, in the middle, that creates numb people. That's what creates burnout. That creates this inability to be able to show up for your company as well as the people at home if you're just in the middle. So what that leads us to is how do we be able to maintain the highs and the lows without getting like out of our window is what I call it, right? The window of tolerance. How do we stay inside that window and be ourselves and experience it? And it's all about skills training. A lot of times we think, I actually can just put my head down and get through it, but it's your physical body needs to go to the gym to get stronger, just like your mental and emotional side needs to get stronger through skills and skills training. So there's a few things you can do with that, but the worst thing you can do is push all of that emotion aside, all of that, like to downplay your successes. Why the crap would you do that?
Right.
Like experience the goodness of it all, right? And when it goes low, don't push it away and lock it in a closet. Like feel it, get through it, like understand it, understand why it's there, and then continue on. So you want to still feel the highs and lows, but to an extent, and keep increasing your ability to hold the highs and lows to your best ability.
Mo Fowler.
I'm here with Solar Joe from the Solar Academy and SolarCon, and we're here to deliver you something awesome. What is it, Joe?
This guy's a real solar entrepreneur, and I want to be able to ask you a quick question. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So a lot of people are, they have the ambitions to be a business owner. Like, yeah, they're a rep, they're knocking doors, but they do that because they see the future of being a business owner and being able to delegate and doing the things you're doing.
Yeah.
We have to look in the future.
Yeah.
What should a rep do? What they're doing today, so they're set up in the future to be a business owner.
get around somebody who's doing it big. Like, you can't be around people, like if you got a guy and you're working in a company in a team that's got 15 people or 20 people, you got a guy who's got a couple followers. You don't have a business owner. You have a sales leader who knows how to sell, but he doesn't understand administration or finance or legal or tax or accounting. A lot of people, if you're in your 20s, what the focus should be is not how do I make a shit ton of money right now. When you're in your 20s, the focus should be how do I learn as much as possible. So oftentimes what you want to do is you actually just want to, what I would do personally is, like, I would go and work for somebody for less pay, because that less pay, what it's going to do is going to give me a shit ton of experience. And so the problem is that most people want to make $1 million in a year or in 6 months, and you have like a 1 in 1,000 chance of doing it, but you can have 100% chance of doing it if you spread out the time horizon over 6 or 7 years. And the problem is people just want it so fast that they try and chase that carrot, which they think is going to be so fast in front of them, and they end up not getting experience, and then they chase the money. They don't understand the finance, they don't understand the game, and they end up losing it all and saying this is a scam, sales sucks, I can't make any money anywhere, blah 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 blah. So my advice is get around somebody who's doing it like major. Like, you need somebody who's doing it big, somebody who's clearing 8 figures in revenue. Not in solar it's very easy to clear 7 figures in revenue, but find somebody who's doing 8 figures in revenue at least, and go and get mentored by them and get trained by them. Know exactly how they do it. Like, seek information, and from there, work under them, work under their wing, get all the training you can. And then really, I don't even think that it's necessary for you to leave and start your own thing. What I would do is I would approach them and try and focus on how do we do a JV, like how do we do a joint venture together, because the reality is, if you're a great entrepreneur and a great mentor and a great business owner, you should be training your people on how to be fantastic entrepreneurs, and most people don't do that. And so if people leave your company to start their own thing, it means that you did a really good job. If you did a shitty job, they'll stay. If you did a really good job, then they'll end up leaving and going and starting their own thing. And so my recommendation is don't just leave if your goal is to leave. If that's something you absolutely have to do, find a way to do a joint venture with the person who brought you in. Let them continue to guide you, help you, so that you can both scale together and faster, and you don't have bad blood, you don't hurt relationships, anything like that.
Abby Buckmiller, who is a business consultant also and branding marketing expert. Can I ask you a quick question?
Would love that.
Okay, so you are amazing at branding, and I've seen your LinkedIn. If you're not following Abby on LinkedIn, you need to. It's some awesome content.
Thank you.
Give some advice about personal branding. A lot of people work at a company, right? And
Sure.
they should talk about the company and their branding, and,
Right.
and they post on social media their company, but they never talk about themselves or their
Right.
own branding. So
Right.
can you talk a little about how do reps or salespeople brand themselves?
Absolutely. I saw a study that was put out recently that talked about, it was really just polling people. It said, look at the most recent 10 brands that you've purchased from and tell us, why did you purchase from these brands? Was it because you love the color scheme, or you love the name of the company, or some other facet of the business, or is there some sort of face that you can apply to that brand that invokes some sort of emotion that makes you feel connected to it? And by and large, it was like, of course, 80% of people admitted that the last 10 businesses that I've given my money to are because I have a face that I can put to the name. I've got a person and a personality that I can attach to doing business. And really, when you break it down, all of business, people say don't make it personal. Business is personal. I love that it is personal, but we all want to do business with other people, and we want to feel like we are exchanging and we're finding common ground or common thread with one another. So it doesn't really matter if it's your personal brand. Put your face out there and make sure that you're saying your message, right? That you're giving your honest truth about whatever it is that you're doing, including the messy stuff. That's what people love to watch. But it's personal brand and it's company brand. No matter how you can approach it, if you're able to tap into an emotion, a space of, I feel this way about something in my life or the world, or a problem that we're solving together, would you like to come and join me? Guess what? It's magic.
We have Steve Buckmiller here, who's one of the top minds when it comes to solar installation. And I wanted to pick your mind. Can I ask you a question?
Ask.
Okay, so a lot of reps out there, they focus on the sales because they're sales guys, right?
100%.
And they put deals in, genuine, and they want to do their best, but sometimes they have issues and they're like, oh, what happened here? And this issue. And what kind of tips can you give a rep who maybe doesn't understand all install side that can have a smoother process?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think over communicate the expectations that were set. What is the homeowner thinking they bought? Let us know. Let us know what they want, desires, wishes, dreams, all of it. We want to know that so that we can execute on that. a lot of times operations doesn't quite understand or know or have visibility in those expectations. So you'd be surprised how much there's a gap there.
We have a door knocking legend in the house, Taylor McCarthy, aka Taylor McSolar, in the house, baby. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, let's go.
Yo, so I seen some of your content coming out, bro, which is fire content. If you're not following him on IG, it's Taylor McSolar, I believe.
Taylor MCC Solar.
It's fire. And the latest thing I've been seeing, he's going to Canada, bro. He's going to Canada, and I see some training out there. Talk a little bit about people who live in Canada and getting into the solar industry.
So first off, it was negative 26 degrees out there Fahrenheit. So, I came from South Florida and definitely made an adjustment there. But the opportunity in Canada, not only for the families that we serve, but the servants or the sales professionals, is so immense. And one of the big reasons why, I'm training in the field is the next level of teaching a sales professional is performing sales. So when you can break things down to the ridiculous, especially in Canada, where it's just such an unbelievable opportunity. I mean, they're literally taking money that they would throw away into a trash can and redirecting it into equity. So the only way they're going to stay with the utility company is if they wanted to justify a way to throw their money into
Shooting
the trash.
fish in a barrel, sounds like.
Oh, it was a great market. People were super friendly in Canada. I think that there's going to be thousands of people in Canada that get rich, but the difference between the people that get rich and that don't get rich is the people that are interested compared to being committed. If you're committed to the process and you understand that your income will be in direct proportion to your skills and ability, Canada's about to go crazy.
Bro, you're a grinder. I seen you out there, bro. You go months going straight.
It's really not a grind. I've never actually had to work. I'm actually a professional trick-or-treater, so I just go around and I look for lottery tickets, and if I use my words correctly, it ends up being a winning ticket. And, I think the secret ingredient to longevity with 16 years in the game is definitely, it is so simple. It's the simplest thing that I'll tell you, and this might go over a lot of people's heads, but when you maintain something, it will eventually become exhausting. Building is energizing. Well, what's the secret ingredient to building? It's having fun. If you're not having fun, it's not worth it. So, that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I'd give to somebody that's brand new or somebody that's lasted a really long time in the industry.
We're here with the living legend, door-to-door legend, solar legend, one of the top trainers, maybe the top trainer in the country when it comes to knocking a door and closing solar. Can I ask you a quick question, Mike?
Absolutely.
Okay, bro, I'm talking a lot of people coming to the solar industry, they are scared of knocking doors,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, me too.
Yes, they
terrified, petrified,
not only
horrified.
scared, not only scared, but they won't do it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say
That's petrified.
the first door to open is the car door, right? Talk about
No. The hardest door to open is the front door.
the front door
of your
first.
house. The next hardest door to open is your car door. Yeah.
Anybody can knock on a door, right?
Anyone, literally, no qualifications, no skills needed. Anyone could knock on a door and be standing there with their solar logo and go, can I get you a free solar quote?
And they can literally be started as a door knocker and become a serial entrepreneur. That's my story.
Yep,
I literally
100%
started
mine
20 years ago as knocking on a door, talking to somebody
That's how
randomly.
you can afford this awesome
I was able to afford it finally. Talk about it like that. Starts from being a door knocker, and then how that can gradually become something else as you go in the future.
Well, I mean, literally, it takes no qualification, no experience. We can start this morning. You can be kind of good at it by the afternoon, and it literally can be a 7-figure income. So that's going to give you the capital to be financially free. So you can create 8 figures in sales in a year, $10+ million a year in sales, get yourself on that stage. That's going to create a 7-figure income. You do that for a few years, knock doors, buy doors, and you're going to have the capital to look like this guy, the head of some incredible organization, powerhouse company, industry icon, SolarCon. You'll be the CEO. You'll be one of the founders, partners of that. Why? Because you didn't have to go work to pay the rent. You had the money to start something. You had your own capital to fund yourself, knocking on doors, selling whatever company it is that you start in the future. That's an ability and an opportunity that's available right now. All you got to do is decide.
We're here with Lou Evans. What I love about Lou is that he's a genuine person. When he talks to you, he looks you in the eye and he has a really genuine conversation. So I want to ask you a quick question. A lot of sales reps out there want to make money and they see the dollar signs in their eyes. And for some reason, homeowners or customers smell that. right? So you can't fake it, right? It's like it's hard to really fake it unless you're like Leonardo DiCaprio and you can really act.
Yeah.
And you're not an actor, right? So how do you show genuine? How do you actually have that care so that you don't seem salesy?
Right. That's a good question. I have a part of me just wants to connect with people. I love cultivating relationships with people. I love making people smile. I love making people happy. I like making people feel comfortable around me. And so just naturally, I just immediately, if I'm like knocking on a door or if I'm inside the home, within the first 5-10 seconds, I'm complimenting them on something in their house. Like I see trophies or I see their grandkids' pictures on the wall, or if I see anything that just can spark a conversation. Oh, it's an adorable dog. Whoa, is this a Yorkie? It looks like a little mix. Whatever it is. And I'm always there. I'm always, like you said, I'm looking them in the eye. I'm smiling. And they truly appreciate that because it's not about me. It's about them. I'm always grateful. I'm grateful in that moment that they allowed me to come in their house. They're sharing their space with me because this is their domain. So I stay in that sentiment of gratitude, and I stay with them, and I'm always remembering that it's not as much about me as it is about them.
Here at Tyler Grange, who's probably one of the top minds when it comes to solar in the Idaho area, and solar general, but more specifically even Idaho. So I really appreciate that. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so a lot of reps out there are in their own areas, and they're working it, and they can be virtual, but they still focus on where they live, right? But we have some areas like California is going through changes like Net Metering 3.0.
Right.
So those reps now looking for other options, and Idaho is one of those options, right? And it's a growing market.
Yep, absolutely.
So can you talk about reps who are trying to go into Idaho, some tips and things they should know?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would want to say to those people is to just be confident, be able to adapt to change. Change is good. It's just the vision and the way, the lens that you look at it. So level yourselves up. If you are wanting to kind of stay in your market and adapt to the 3.0 or whatever, it's possible. We're here in Idaho. We're selling against 10 cents a kilowatt hour for the utility. And so if you're coming to Idaho, you need to understand that the immediate savings is not there. And I'll just be honest about that. However, there are people in every market that do want to go solar for if the value is built up enough. So if your value can exceed your price, they're going to come over. So you really need to connect with the customer. People are willing to spend, like here in Idaho, we're charging people, if they apply the tax credits, 30, 40, 50, $80 more a month on a 25-year loan. Yeah. And people are still doing it because you need to connect, because they see the value. So connect with them, learn about the reasons why. People will spend more money all the time if the value is there. So be confident in that. More than happy to jam with people on how the Idaho market or similar markets like that, how solar works and how you can create the value. It's just a little bit different, but it is definitely possible. So don't be afraid of it, just embrace it, because you got to understand, if it's hard, not a lot of people are doing it. So if you're one of those people that want to take action and level yourself up and get better and do the hard things, it's a wide open market to take advantage of.
We're here with Rick Martinez, No Soliciting Bra. If you haven't seen his IG, get on it, hot shit. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so I think one of your specialties, I know you have many, is making content.
Yeah.
Your memes are fire, and I'm a big fan of memes. Can you talk about the effort, right? Like it's not just something that it does on its own, right? It takes effort. Talk about, and should reps do it? What do you do? What are the steps, and how should other reps maybe want to kind of replicate what you're doing?
Okay.
Do the same thing.
The biggest thing is relatability. What makes me who I am is the fact that the memes that I post are relatable to my target audience, which is the door-to-door industry. So how do you take what I do and apply it to your personal day-to-day life? Who do you talk to every day? Are you talking to your customers? Are you talking to potential leads? How do you get them to like you? Be more relatable to them. So that's the big thing. People will like you if they're relatable. If you are relatable to them and they relate to you. If not, you're not going to get anywhere. So find a way to be relatable. Maybe drop some memes to your customers. Maybe send them some funny stuff, right? Don't let it all be about whatever sale you're doing. Try and throw in a little bit of you. And they'll buy from you and they'll like you. And they're more likely to refer you to other people.
Especially if you're funny.
Especially if you're funny. Or even if you're not, they will think that you're funny because you try so hard to be funny, but you're not.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a win-win.
So how do you, like, get creative? How do you get funny? How do you come up with some of the stuff you come up with? Because if you haven't seen his IG, No Soliciting Bra, he has some of the most fire content, hilarious memes, and I love scrolling through it, and I get addicted. You keep going because there's so many. But talk about the creative process.
Creative process, if I see something. If I see something and I can repurpose it to something that I've gone through, I just like, oh, that reminds me of that time that this happened. And then I think, how many other people would have gone through this exact same thing? And then if it's more than 10 people, then it's a lot more people who have. I just know 10 people directly who have gone through it. So then I just make it and I post it, and it more often than not is a fire meme.
We have the one and only Lumi Bros, Will Emirates, aka Billy Gaines.
Let's go.
This guy is fire content. Can I ask you a question real quick?
Absolutely, brother.
Yo, all right. So you guys, you have some amazing content on Instagram, and a lot of people out there like want to do what you're doing, bro. They're like, I want to do that. He's getting followers, he's getting views, and people are like gravitating towards him. What are some tips? What can somebody who's not using IG the way you're doing it, like they're maybe using it and throwing some family picture up there, but not doing it the way you're doing it? What are some tips they can do to actually get to that level or just get close to it?
You just gotta sit down, think long and hard, begin with the end in mind. So like where you want to go, and then you just gotta bridge that gap. So like 1 year ago, we said we're gonna be the #1 solar salesman in America.
You did say that. I remember that shit.
We're gonna do 13 blitzes, and then we freaking did it. So it's like you don't gotta be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. So like I remember our very first time clicking go on that camera, and we've probably recorded thousands and thousands and thousands of videos since then. And you know, you guys don't see everything, but we want to put the best content out there. And so it's just like you just got to do it. You just got to start. And it's like you're not going to be awesome when you start, but once you do it, it's like you look at Joe Rogan when he first started the podcast. Him and the guys, that was not that good quality content. They were just hanging out, and now it's the #1 podcast in the world. And so I look at that and I say, hey, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. It's kind of cool to hear you say, like, people are looking at that saying, like, dude, you can do it. And it's like, dude, we haven't even begun yet. You know what I mean? Like, our whole goal is really to become one of the biggest names in the industry so that we can inspire people after solar to do other things that are bigger, because this is a short time span, bro.
Yeah.
Like, solar's not going to be around forever. This opportunity is not going to be around forever. So we really want to help as many people as possible, but then give them something to do after that. So that's kind of like where our heart's at. We just want to help people. And our whole thing is like, change yourself, change your community, change the world. Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to start with themselves. So you gotta do something for yourself first, and then you change your community. And then if you just change one person's life, bro, you can change the world. So that's our goal.
I gotta ask you one more question, because your confidence is just, obvious, right? So did you start with that confidence? Did it take time to work that confidence? And not only doors, because that's where you started probably, getting that confidence. Is that actually a good question? Is that a good segue from door knocking, getting that confidence to getting on camera?
Yeah,
get on stage?
I think it's just like a delusional belief that we're the best. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, I'm the best at this, but it's like, dude, I don't know. I feel like it's like a burning desire that I have to try to be the best that I can be. When I grew up, I was always like run, and I'd want to be like the best basketball player and like not miss a single shot. Every single shot I make, every single shot I take, I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna go into the NBA. So it's just like a delusional belief, you know what I mean? But like I've just always wanted to be the best at something, and I think that's what it takes to be great. You want to be the best at something. Like that's why you're Solar Joe. Like you're one of the best in the game, right? So it's like it's just that burning desire, and then also like having people that hold you accountable. So it's like there are days that like are really tough, but it's like I've got people like Beeler, our video guy, that holds me accountable, and he's an absolute genius. And so it's like, you got to surround yourself with people that really want to see you win, and they want to win too. If you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are, not doing stuff, you're not going to do things. So make sure that you surround yourself with people that want to be the best, and you'll probably end up being the best.
We have Lindsay too, the event coordinator, the one of the owners, founders of SolarCon. Really love that. Get to work with you and collaborate with you almost every day.
Yes.
And I want to kind of give the audience some flavor, some input, because you have some amazing insight in event coordinating.
Yes.
So just tell us the audience, what do you love about it? Why do you do it? Because you're amazing at it. It seems you're very passionate about it. How did you get into it, and why do you like it?
Yeah, I actually got into it at this conference that we're at, Door to Door Con. I started to see the way that people were engaging with vendors, and in networking and talking to all of these people, I realized that they have this deep need to connect with companies, and they don't know what the companies do. They don't know where to find them. They don't know anything. And so what I found in event coordinating is that as I learn who the companies are, the vendors are that come, I can then share with all of the attendees more specifics about what they have to offer. And the one thing that I feel like SolarCon really sets us apart from all the other events is that we are very vendor centric.
Yes.
Meaning we find the people who would serve our vendors, and we find the vendors that will serve our attendees. And that right there, I feel like, is a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
because then they can grow and scale their business because they are connected to the right people.
With their solar OG, Solar Sandy in the house.
Thank
What's up,
you,
Solar
man.
Sandy?
That's awesome.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So actually, she was in Phoenix, Arizona, where she's on the radio delivering awesome content, and that's a big part of your brand, right?
It is.
And a lot of people out there don't do any of that.
Right.
Right. So just asking for the audience who's struggling and want to get into it, what are some tips? What do you advise to reps or salespeople who want to get into radio and get into delivering, getting the content like that?
So I'm kind of old fashioned. I'm on like talk radio, talking
There you go.
just basically, you know, the common sense about producing your own power and paying less for it. But you know, basically the youngins in this industry, they have so much available to them on Facebook and Instagram and Facebook Live, you know, talking real, not the hype and not the raw stuff. My radio show is not a raw kind of a radio show. I just talk very, very logically about, you know, producing your own power with your solar panels versus the power company that are, you know, basically stealing money and it's like having a variable rate mortgage today, which would be very scary. Same thing with the electricity. So you guys could use that. Variable
There you
rate
go.
mortgage is exactly the same as scary as having a variable rate electric bill.
We're here with the CEO of EcoStella, William. Guys, can I ask you a quick question?
Go ahead.
All right. So you're really big into energy efficiency, baby.
man.
So we got to reduce before we produce.
That's right.
Right?
life.
It's. I know your product is about reducing AC efficiency. I mean, producing. How do you say it?
Reducing energy consumption.
Reducing energy consumption,
Yeah.
right? But talk about just the idea in general of reducing and producing before you actually put solar panels on the roof.
Yeah, I mean, look, we want things to be as efficient as possible before we produce any energy, right? I mean, it's just, they go hand in hand. Anything you get to, you want equipment to be working right, you want it to be as efficient as possible. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you sell less panels. I actually advocate for selling a little bit above 100% offset, right? And we can add about 10 to 20% for that for you. And when you do that, you take care of additional energy usage that may come later, the degradation of panels over the years, right? Who knows? So you're planning for the future when you do that.
Yeah, when you're talking to a homeowner and you're adding, not only are we going to produce electricity for you, we're going to help you save money on the other parts of your electricity. That's a double whammy, right?
Right. And the other thing too is when you optimize performance, now the equipment's working better, it's going to break down less, it's going to last longer. So you're doing the right thing for the homeowner. Not to mention it makes the solar sale more consultative, right? You're not like, you know, everybody else just pushing panels. You're on their side of the table now. And I know guys that are winning deals with efficiency for that reason.
We're here with Sun-Based Data with Lance and Josh.
Let's
I want to ask you a quick question. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. So you guys, I've seen you're showing me some of your software. It's amazing. But let's talk about the process reps have to go through from the beginning to the end. I think you call it the prospect to profit.
Prospect to paycheck.
There you go. I love that. So talk about that for reps, because reps sometimes are just ADHD, focused on one thing at a time, right? How do they make sure they have all the steps, the right strategies to make sure they have a simple process throughout?
Absolutely. So what we do is we subscribe to systems, and systems allow them to kind of, you know, go onto autopilot and focus on really what's most important to them.
Okay.
And what we've done is we've built a framework through technology to really kind of keep them on track and make it really easy for them to manage the things that, you know, have to happen along the way, but to do it in a way that's just a byproduct of using the technology to make them more efficient, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll add to that too. The most valuable asset there is time. So if you're able to, eliminate having to do manual processes and eliminate human error, and you allow a machine to do it for you, where you don't have to wonder if it wakes up and is it in the right mood to do a certain job, and you can just set it up once, then you can leverage software to then get you from point A to point B faster, on time, and make sure that everything is clean, right? So that there's no mishaps, and it's just a matter of you have the system. Now it's just up to the execution of the business to execute the system, right? And making sure that the employees or the reps in the company are trained to follow the process.
Yeah, I love that. And Lance, I want to talk to you because you come to these conferences and you're really great at talking and getting people and grabbing them and, explaining what you have. And for just like speaking for a conference for the vendor side of it and doing that so well, talk about how can they get better at reaching out to more people and talking to them and be confident with the product. That's why you're here, to share it. Why not talk to everybody? Just hit that a little bit.
So we are all in sales, right? And I think sometimes we forget that you have to reach out to people, and if they don't know what you do, then how would they know if they need your service? So, the number one thing that people suffer from is fear of rejection when in sales. And the key is if you eliminate fear, if you lean into it, and you own the fact that you're confident in what we represent, then why wouldn't I want to tell the world?
Let's go.
I would want to, and I go by a saying, which is make internal culture, external culture, right? Make sure that what we believe in so strongly that this guy has sleepless nights going, up all night going through it. He knows what he's doing to revolutionize this industry along with all of our partners. And we're excited, we're passionate, and that's the way that you should be when you represent your company. Right?
I would say passion and integrity.
Yeah.
I think if you know you have something great that like you've worked on really hard and you believe in what you're doing, then it makes it really easy to want to share that with people. And a lot of vendors are great. It's not just us, but like for us, it's like we
Like we're great, but they're great too,
no.
right?
I think
you
that
are.
like
That's
absolutely. But I look at it as like, look, whoever's helping more solar get on the roof,
There you
I'm
go.
down for it.
100%.
But with that being said, like each person has different needs. Each vendor provides different technology, different ways that they go about it. And like what we've done is we've built something that we think is really unique. And we're passionate about it, so we want to share it with people. And we feel like we have a duty to do it. And again, like whatever they're using, if they're happy with it, great. But like what we're trying to do is get our message out there so people are aware of what's out there and they can figure it out for themselves of what's best.
I just want to add something too.
Yeah.
If you can hear the way that his humbleness, his genuineness, he is somebody that is not doing this for money. He does this because he truly believes in the environment and green aspect. If I keep the lights on when I leave the room, this guy's telling me to turn it off. True story,
Yeah.
right?
Turn off that water.
Yeah, turn off the water. This guy
Why waste?
is truly believes in what this industry stands for.
I got kids, man. I care about the future.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mr. Coda Ivers, CEO of Grateful Solar. Can I ask you a quick question?
Let's go.
All right, so I seen your stuff on Instagram, and I see your not only your energy drinks
Yes,
spots are
yes.
awesome, but you're big on recruiting and teaching sales dealerships. And my question comes down to reps who become really good at closing and setting appointments and doing well for themselves. Now it's a whole different field when you start trying to recruit people to
Right.
you. So what's the best strategy or steps for somebody who's doing good on themselves, but now they want to start recruiting and becoming a team?
I think people
Building
need
team.
to post and document the process on social media a lot. Like most
Oh,
of
I
everything
love
that
that.
we've done has been organic, Instagram, just like documenting going to the gym, documenting your habits, documenting, reading in the morning, documenting hitting the doors, documenting selfies with customers, testimonials with customers.
Love it.
Just sharing the experience, and you're going to get a lot of people that reach out over time. It's a little bit of a longer term approach. You can always, cold DM people as well if you want some quick results, but ultimately it's just sharing the stuff that you're already doing well and at a high level, and people are going to get attracted to that.
But I noticed that you don't only talk business. Like you,
Right.
you try to use social media just to let people know who you are,
Yeah.
or just make good content for them to watch.
Yeah.
Right. So talk a little bit about like making content that maybe not be business specific, but more about your self brand.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of figuring out first and foremost who your ideal recruit is. And so for us, a lot of the people that we bring in are people that are motivated, people that listen to podcasts, that go to the
I
gym
noticed that the
consistently.
people around you are always super ambitious and motivated.
Very growth-minded people,
Yeah.
and so most of the stuff that I'm posting is just related to that. Like it's a little bit of door to door, it's a little bit of the solar stuff, but for the most part, like you said, I'm at the gym. It's the same stuff every single day. I'm at the gym, I'm reading my books, I'm going to conferences.
Stay consistent though.
Yeah, and people see that, and that's why I have people that hit me up and they're like, "Hey, I've followed you for 3 years, and I wanted to reach out and see if you guys are hiring."
I had a quick question I just thought of, just
Yeah.
because I see you and how confident you are and how ambitious you are. You're young.
Yeah.
Right? And solar is a young sport, right? You see a
Right.
lot of younger people. So give it advice to somebody who feels like, you know what, I'm 21, or, I'm not saying you're that age, but somebody who's 18, 21 who's trying to get into solar. What would you do? Like they have an advantage, I think, in a lot of ways. So what are
Yeah.
some advantage they may have over somebody who's been maybe a little older?
Time is your best friend.
Yeah.
Like that's it. So, if you're 20, 21, man, you got everything in front of you. Like solar is the best opportunity. And so if you're that young, I would just say get really good at selling at a really high level, because I think a lot of people try getting into the business side, or they try, having like the ego stroke of being a CEO or being an expert too quickly. And I think that if people took a little bit more time to actually master sales, master recruiting, master, leadership and these different things, they'd be much better off, when they transition into more of a, high tier leadership role, or starting their own company, or venturing off into something else.
We're here with Joseph Jordan with Zero. And I talked to Joseph, I must have been a year or two, I think a year ago. And he updated his software and it is amazing. But I want to ask you a quick question. Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so probably could talk about your product a little bit, but
Yeah.
I really want to help or give tips to knockers right out there, right? Because it's a struggle, and really the main goal is to get better and better and better and better,
Yeah.
right? And they don't have a lot of tools besides the ones everybody knows about, the street door knocking apps,
Yeah.
right? But really another tool that they can use to get better and see evolve in their game. Can you talk about your product and maybe anything else that would help them improve their game?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, fundamentally, the problem with coaching sales reps is lack of time. If you could follow them around all day long and be everywhere at once, you wouldn't even be asking me the question, because
that's a good
you'd
point.
be able to give them all the feedback they need and train them to be at least as good as you are as a manager. But the problem is that time, just not having it. So if you're not going to use Zero to record your conversations, you should at least use something, right? We call Zero the game film for sales. What it's going to do is record your conversations, automatically transcribe and analyze them to find out where the coachable moments are for your sales reps, and send them to your inbox, including showing them how the top reps have handled each of those moments. So you get the, I need to talk to my wife, or you know what, my wife handles the bill. We'll show you how the top reps have handled that, and then send that to you as a manager, so you can be everywhere at once and coach your entire team for 1 or 2 minutes. Like you're responding to an email, a text message on those coachable moments.
So before, there was, the only issue to me was that rep had to keep pressing on and off, and that might affect them as they're door knocking.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me more about the update?
Yeah, exactly. So we just released D2D mode a few months ago. What that allows you to do is press start once and let it run in the background for your entire knocking session, which means
amazing. That's a game changer.
Yeah, it'll automatically identify where each conversation starts and stops and separate them for you. So if I talk to 25 people, I get 25 recordings, even though all I did was press this little start button at the beginning of the conversation.
That is pretty amazing. So if you guys don't know about Zero, at least check out the demo. Call Joseph Jordan. So if somebody want to reach out to you or reach out about Zero, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, head to Siro.ai, SIRO.ai, and there's a big book a demo button. That'll get you time on the calendar with me, and we'll talk about getting you set up.
We got the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Jake Harris.
Me? Oh, all right.
Yeah, you're so humble. You don't like when people say that to you, do you?
No, I am the man, bitches.
He is, bro, and I've learned so much from him, and I want to ask you a quick question. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of the issues in the industry, in my opinion, it comes from reps knowledge, right? There are a lot of salespeople, and they can get really good at sales, but they miss the technical aspect. What are some tips or some suggestions you can help reps who are just focused on the sales part, but not really the technical part?
That's an interesting question. I actually get that quite a bit, because there's always this battle of like, hey, should we know technical and overwhelm the homeowner? Should we just stick to sales and tell them one option? And I will say this, having done both worlds. I did the world where I just went out and sold and refined my sales skills, and I sold quite a bit. I was pretty dang good at it. But when I learned the technical side and how to apply that to the sales knowledge, I just started to destroy it. That's when I became one of the leaders in the solar industry, is when I started installing over 200 accounts a year, consecutively every single year on average. And it's because I had technical knowledge. I had less paperwork to re-sign. I had less go backs, less adders were taken out of my commission. I mean, you just make more money with the more knowledge you have, simply because you're drafting those contracts properly.
100%, and people need to listen to that. Yes, a lot of people say you're the solar goat, and you're big into solar, but that's not the only thing you do. Like, you have a lot of passions and things you're into. Can you talk about some of the other things besides solar you're into?
Definitely. I am a major surfer. I love surfing. It's like one of my favorite things to do in the whole world. Every time I get home, the next morning I wake up early and go surfing. It just feels good to refresh yourself and get in that ocean. There's something, euphoric about it. I love spending time with my son. I cannot wait to get home this next round. I'm taking him to Disneyland with some friends. It's going to be a good time. Woodworking is one of my strongest passions. I love building things, and one of my more popular things actually is a custom solar table that's inlaid in reclaimed wood. It looks pretty dope. There's a whole bunch of stuff I love doing, but I'd say mostly family time movies. I'm a big movie guy. You tell me we're gonna go watch the movies, I will be there. I'll see you there.
I started in sales 20 years ago.
Yeah.
My first one was door to door, talking to random people and trying to
Yeah.
sell them something. And now I am a business owner, and I have the biggest conference in the solar industry, and have the Solar Academy. Like, things can change from your first door knock to what it is now. So tell me your story a little bit, where you started with your first door knock to being an entrepreneur today.
So I started with my first door knock selling actual meat door to door in 35 U.S. states. I fell upon that. I was a music promoter in my early 20s. And then I got out of that, went back to school for a couple years. A guy introduced me to door-to-door sales. Like, I'm not going to go sell meat door-to-door. And then I just ended up doing that for 10 years. I was national sales trainer, working with a couple different companies. Went up to Canada. Yeah, I had started my own company doing that eventually, and then went to Canada. Saw that it wasn't being done there. It was a complete failure compared to what I was doing there as far as that. And then I actually, out of necessity, grew into a D2C, like a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business called Farm to Fork.
Oh, okay.
So it was like the
Pretty
butcher
sick.
box of Canada. So
Really?
just
That's
sold that in April. This is the abridged version.
Yeah.
Moving back to the U.S. So get into a bigger pond, get down here. Came across these guys, Sun Solar, researched them, and got back into knocking doors again. And it's like riding a bike, man. Like really, it has been. So
Not only knocking doors, so your experience is from a sales background, and now you're
Correct.
joining the solar industry.
Correct,
Right?
yeah.
That is huge. A lot of people are doing that because same reason I'm in the solar industry from a sales background. It's amazing to sell. You feel good about it. You know, you're helping
Exactly.
people
It's
out, helping
great
the
product,
environment.
great,
You
exactly.
see in the future, right? Like it
Where
makes
it's
sense.
headed, yeah.
So talk to me about that. Like from a sales background, why should people from different sales backgrounds think about maybe joining the solar industry?
I think they should join the solar industry because I think this is where we're headed, right? Like I think as a world, as a nation, as the economy. So and it's definitely as far as not only you're providing good service to the customer at the same time, it's also a good vehicle for these guys due to the fact that the money they're able to make to be able to change their lives, right?
Yeah.
Like change a lot of these kids' lives. And it's the one thing that you don't have to have, you can make a lot of money where you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have background, you don't have to have connections, right?
Yep.
You just have to be able to get your ass out there and knock a door and talk to people, right? And be a good listener at the same time. So, so that's where I see that this is a great thing for a lot of these young guys and stuff too that I've been meeting here and that don't come from these backgrounds and, that wouldn't have that opportunity elsewhere, right? So, so it's providing a ton of opportunities for people. At the same time, it's helping the consumer. So it's a great synergy between the two, right? So,
Yeah, 100%. We're here with Val, CEO of Sun Solar Solutions, and I'm a huge fan. Val, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I see you on social media on Facebook, and you have some of the best comments and feedback I see from anybody.
Appreciate it,
And
man.
there's
Appreciate
a lot
it.
of feedback out there.
Appreciate it.
You give amazing feedback. Talk about like your confidence of getting. How do you get this knowledge? Like, what it take? You're reading books? Are you following other people? Because you've learned so much. You've gotten so much so far in the solar industry. Can you talk about a little about that?
It's just obviously I think part of it's just gonna be personality, right? Like whatever I get into, I just kind of obsess about it. So and it's good. It depends on what you're obsessing about, right? So I've always had that kind of personality where like if I get into something, and sometimes it just might be a waste, I'll buy like a TV and I'll research the crap out of it for like a month.
Oh, you'll
before I
make sure you
it,
buy the right TV.
I'll make sure, I know all the specs and all that, right?
Okay.
So finally, I got tuned into solar. I don't know if some people know the story, some people don't, right?
Tell us.
I came into solar from a bad experience. I was a customer in solar. I'm that customer that you don't want because I had the spreadsheet going, right? I got 7 companies lined up and I end up, it's a longer story, so I'll keep it short. But
I like
essentially,
it
was a bad experience. It took like 8 months. The company did a terrible job. I ended up firing the company, tearing everything they did off the roof and reinstalling myself, right? I learned NEC code. I learned everything there was about solar, right? Just because that's kind of how my mindset works. And so that's just, I love information. I'm not kind of a traditional book reader kind of guy, but I read all the time, right? Articles, watching videos, all those kind of things. So I just love social media, wherever I can get information. And I think to me, it's very important to have that education. A lot of like the reps that we work with, a lot of the dealers, even dealers that we work with as an installer, we want to make sure that they have the education that they're getting that across their homeowners. I think it's really important, and you're doing a service to the customer if you're doing it that way. So that's just kind of my mindset going into that.
Hey, this guy is a door knocking legend. I'm so glad I get to talk to him. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Okay, so first talk about your experience in the door knocking industry in general.
It's life-changing. 6 kids, living paycheck to paycheck, slinging pizzas for a living, 60, 70 hours a day, or 60, 70 hours a week, excuse me.
Yeah.
Somebody taught me how to go knock on a door, make a couple $100 in the alarm industry,
Okay.
and never turned back. I went out for one day, got 2 deals, made $400 in one day, and I was like, oh my God, I could do that. So I went home, went in my own neighborhood, wrote up 2 deals, went home, my wife's pregnant, twins. And I said, I'm quitting now.
Oh my God.
Right before now we have no insurance. I said, no, I gotta go now. I gotta leave, quit my job, never look back.
So talk about that a little bit more, because a lot of people are joining the solar industry from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
It could be a job, it could be a sales background. Talk about that jump, right? Like, it's scary.
It is. It's very scary
Talk about
because
that.
when you're in sales, there's no paycheck, and you got to earn that paycheck, right? There's nobody looking over your shoulder telling you to punch in, punch out. Nobody forcing you to go to work. It's not like somebody's micromanaging you. You got to micromanage yourself. So you're writing your own check. And a lot of people don't give it enough time. So when they dive into the industry, you got to dive into it with 2 feet, right? You do. You got to dive in. You got to be all in. You half-ass it, you're never going to succeed, right? So in every door you knock on, you're learning, you're building a mental toolbox, and you're knowing how to rebuttal. And no matter what somebody says to you, you know which direction to go. Anything other than no is a buying question, and you got to take them down the path. And you can't be afraid to do that. You got to become fearless, thick skin, right? And so that's, I have a theory. I put somebody a long time ago told me to put 30 business cards in my pocket.
30, okay.
30 business cards.
Must have been a long time ago.
It was. Yeah, it was. And I had to put it in the house. I got to get in the house. Putting it on the door didn't count. I had to have 30 conversations, right? Getting it into the house. So when you're down and you're out and you're feeling like the world's against you, you're not having a good day, you can't go home until you get those 30. And if you discipline yourself, I've never gotten a 30. So I've been knocking on doors since 99. So think about that. That's 24 years.
Oh, wow, yeah.
24 years, and I've never gotten a 30 yet without getting a deal. So a lot of times it's in your mind. It's your mindset, because what happens is you might be having a bad day. You might have had an argument with your wife before you left the house, right? You're just not feeling like working. So, and you say, God, everybody's saying no, nobody wants solar. This sucks, right?
Yep.
But really, you probably only knocked on 15 doors, and you probably only 3 of them opened. You got 3 no's, and you're bitching, right? So it's just, it empowers you to push through that. So that was a hack.
We're here with Melissa Ramiza, who's one of the top door knockers in the world. It's amazing, probably the top female door knocker in the world. And I've been joking, not even exaggerating. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, man.
So many people out there can learn from you. Like, you're doing amazing things. It's hard to even put into words. And a lot of people have that ambition. They want to do what you're doing, but it takes a lot of hard work. Like, it's like, besides opening the door, you have to like hustle and be out there to be where you're at.
Yeah.
Can somebody who starts from the beginning get to where you're going, where you're at?
100%. No one knew who I was last year. This was my first door-to-door con last year. No one knew who I was.
Now you're famous.
Yeah, everyone knows who I am this year, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yes.
Like, collecting a golden door, collected that award of excellence last night. Like,
Yes.
when I came here last year, I just had the mindset of like, why not me? Seeing everybody go up there and collect their awards, and just thought, why not me? Well, I can do exactly what they're doing. You could be 1 year in the industry. Abby over here just started in February and made over 100 sales, over $200,000. So if she can do it, anyone can do it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So you're very inspirational, all right? Like, not only to women, in the solar industry, but to people. But speaking to women specifically, I really believe that they have an edge on
100%.
men in solar specifically.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Why should women who are in other backgrounds maybe think about joining the solar industry?
I mean, there's so many benefits to girls selling solar, pest, whatever it is. But one, homeowners generally trust females more than males. Right off the bat,
100%.
they don't feel scammed, they don't feel weirded out. And most of the at-home wives will come home to talk to us, whereas if they see a big guy on the doorstep, they're going to peek out the window and they're going to stay put until their husband comes home to answer that door. The next thing is we can say a lot of stuff that guys can't and get away with it on the doors. So those weird questions like, sir, are you trying to justify a way to pay more for your electricity? When a guy says that, it usually doesn't hit the right way. When a girl says that, they are like, okay, this girl's kind of a smart ass, but I'm going to listen to her real quick. And that's the cool thing is we get away with a lot of stuff, and we also get more time bought for us, whereas guys have 3 seconds, and we can get about 5. So girls have a longer, they have a longer time on the doors, statistically proven. They have longer conversations than a male does.
We're here with Elizabeth Casadias.
Hi, everyone.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, talk to me. Tell me.
Okay, Elizabeth is known as a roofing master, so I want to talk to the solar industry though. What are some tips you can give solar experts may not know the roofing side of things? Anything you can tell them and give them some advice?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you're selling someone a solar system, it's a great way to take a look at what their roof, how their roof is already
Yes.
performing. The last thing you want to do is add solar to a roof that needs to be replaced, because you know that it can always get damaged when they're taking things down. And so I always recommend taking a look at that roof, and you can always have a good referral partner as a roofer.
We're going to talk financing. So I want to talk about reps, right?
Yeah.
How they organize their money and where they put their money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, make some big paychecks sometimes.
Yep.
Right? And what are they buying? Nikes maybe, or they're buying they're buying the next chain or whatever it is.
Yep.
Like, from a financing expert, what is the best place for them to put their money, but they still want to enjoy life? They still want to enjoy life, but how can they manage their money?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, especially for someone that's early on in the game. If you're a rep, you're starting out, you're starting to make some money, and one week you get a huge paycheck, the next week maybe not so much. It can be a bit difficult to track your finances. What you should do is every time you get a paycheck, you should put a percentage into a bank account, which you would call, let's say, your profit account. And that percentage, it's not going to be a huge percentage. Maybe you're going to put 5%, 10%, whatever that may be. But no matter what, you put that into your profit account. That profit account is going to be for you to spend on your Nikes. That's going to be your fun account. Everything else you should be dividing up into maybe 5 or 10% for a tax account. You're going to need to put aside something for taxes, depending on how much you're making. And then put away 20% as an investment account. And then you're going to have to determine what your monthly expenses are. If your monthly expenses are $5,000 a month, figure out how much you think at minimum you should be selling, and then take that percentage and put it away for your monthly expenses account. So building some sort of a system where every time you get a paycheck, you're dividing that money up so that you don't see like 10 grand in your bank account and then go spend that whole 10 grand. Divide it up so that you know, okay, I've got 2 grand left to spend because everything else is already spoken for.
My name is Michael Barive. I have a solar company in South Florida named Nova Energy, and we're exporting from coast to coast like butter on toast.
Michael was the one who brought the most energy out of the 1,700 people there, front row. He won tickets to SolarCon 2, but not only that, after that, now he's making fire content on IG, on Instagram, inspiring many, including me, motivating me to get more content out there, fire content. I see the views, I see the engagement.
I appreciate it.
Great job, man.
Awesome, thank you.
Got you a quick question though.
100%.
Okay, so since you're so inspirational, and from what I've seen with social media, you're doing an awesome job. What are some tips? Like, it's not easy. It's like speaking on stage almost, getting in front of a camera, especially talking to random strangers and being confident. How do people, because they're in sales, they have some confidence, right? I think, right? So how do you think a sales guy and become a content creator, like for example, IG?
100%. So in my opinion, if you're not creating content right now, you're gonna get slapped by a lot of people that are creating content, because at the end of the day, money is not what you should be chasing. Attention is the new currency. And the more people know your name, know your business, know exactly what you're doing, that's how you're gonna attract customers. And remember this, a lot of times we knock on a door or we do a phone call, whatever it may be, and you think that you're gonna get a one shot, one close. But what you don't realize is that somebody else got them excited about solar 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago. So they started thinking about it. All of a sudden, you hotshot sales guy shows up and you think that you're the hotshot by closing that deal. So what I like to do is I like to nurture my audience, nurture my people, so they get a chance to know who I am, what I'm about, and what I'm excited about. And if you nurture your customers, if you nurture your audience, what ends up happening is that they're gonna chase you versus you chasing them. So one tip that I give for people that are trying to create social media content is you gotta stop thinking about creating content. Yes. You just gotta start doing. And the other thing is 100%. You gotta be consistent. So many people are not consistent. One day you're excited, you're gonna make 7 videos, and then 2 weeks later you're doing 1 video a month. So you gotta do it every single day and stop looking at the views. You're so worried about 5 people watching your video. You gotta understand, can you imagine having 5 people in front of you right now? That's 5 freaking people with 10 eyeballs that are watching you and paying attention to you. So don't get demotivated because you got 5 suckers or 5 people watching your content. Be excited that you got 5 views. And then what will happen? You get 50 views and then 50,000 views. And eventually you get millions and millions of views. So I wouldn't think about it. Just go create the action and be disciplined enough to be consistent piston.
Bro, okay, 20 years ago, if you had 300 views, that means you had an audience filled of people you were talking to.
100%.
That's a good night, right? But 300 views now is like, oh, whatever. It's like another day. That's still a lot of people. Now we magnify that even more, multiply even more. Now you're talking about thousands and hundreds of thousands of views sometimes.
Even millions
TikTok,
sometimes.
Millions on Instagram. So, how do you get there? Like, one thing is start doing it and being consistent. doesn't mean you're going to make it there, right? What are you
100%.
doing that you're actually getting there? Because I see it, and I see sometimes it's like 20, likes, and sometimes it's 300 or 1,000 likes. So how do you get to those thousands, like 100,000?
I don't pay attention to the likes. I don't pay attention to the views. I just pay attention to what does my audience really want to see. So I was doing a lot of business content for a very long time, and people were like, wow, it's amazing, it's awesome. I'm like, okay, so why don't I have hundreds of thousands of views? But then I realized is that my audience wanted to see something else from me. I'm very energetic, I'm very enthusiastic, and they wanted to see a different side of my content. So I just said, what do you guys want to see? I started asking them questions. What do you want? And some people said, why don't you just go take your energy and go out there and ask other people about the questions the questions you're asking? That's a serious idea. My friend has a million plus followers on TikTok. He's like, Michael, you need to take your energy, go out there into the marketplace because everyone's afraid to ask a stranger a question. Why don't you go out there and do that? I was like, huh. And how many solar entrepreneurs or business owners are out there taking time out of their schedule to go ask random people questions? Most of the people that are asking questions are a young kid that's 18 years old asking how to pick up chicks or something.
So
They're not
true.
asking business questions. So I was like, you know what? I'm really good with the energy. I'm really good at creating that attention. Why not go to the public with that? And that's when it started to blow up and then go crazy.
We're here with the one and only Brad Morrison, CEO of RepCard. First of all, I'm a huge fan of RepCard. It's one of the best ways for me to stay in touch with homeowners and customers, and also get a way to get to know me without being too forceful. And it's been amazing for me. It's a great tool for reps and solar reps out there. So, Brad, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, send it.
Since you're such a your specialty is follow-up and customer service and communication, what are some tips? Obviously the tool of RepCard is obviously you want to use that. But besides that, what are some tips that reps can use to stay in communication with the homeowners and have a good way for them to get to know who they are besides just a salesperson?
Yeah, so with RepCard, you can easily send off video, and you can send off your profile picture. You can have your bio, and so
links.
If you get the links. And when the homeowners see it, they just feel a ton of credibility. A lot of guys in solar are in door to door. And so you knock on someone's door, you start out as a criminal. Like, that's just the way they view you. When I knock,
you're
at
at my door
least.
for a reason here.
And so after you leave, they're like, who did I just talk to? I just invited him back to my house at 7 p.m. tonight. My wife's going to kill me. And so she can be like, hey, here he is. This is what's going on. And then RepCard tells you everything that's going on with the homeowner. Did they watch your car? Did they click on your videos? Did they save your contact info? And so you're in the know of what's going on, and you know where to spend your time. And then, of course, when they open your card 2 months later, you can then follow up
You're more
at
memorable.
the best time. Yeah,
Like they're gonna remember you, right?
100%.
We're here with Haysam Sakar, CEO of Action Solar. I just met him a few weeks ago, but I didn't realize how smart this guy was, and I've learned a lot already. Can I ask you a quick question? Of course. All right, Haysam. So I see that you have some skills in scaling companies. So I don't want to talk about too in-depth advanced about scaling, but just talk about a rep who's starting out but has the dreams of success of being an entrepreneur and building a business. What kind of tips can you give a rep that wants to be an entrepreneur?
Of course, at the beginning will be trial and error, but after you figure out what worked, you have to have the processes down. Have to be the same exact processes in every single department to grow that one department to the potential it needs.
Okay.
And as your business grows, you just duplicate the same processes and make sure you have triggers in place that catch any downfall. So that's like one of the first things I do walking in, is figuring out the processes and how to make it better. We always ask the question, could we do it easier? And talk
Systems
about that.
and processes.
Talk about
delegating.
that. Yeah, we always involve the team too. Each team has to be involved to develop and design the processes that will get them to the place they want to be. We just give them the goal, and they start the processes.
I love that. We got the one and only Brandon Hall, who is so many things, but business consultant, recruiting expert, trainer, sales extraordinaire. Also former MMA fighter, if you didn't know. Brandon, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
All right.
Let's fire away.
So Brandon, you are an expert in different things, and one of them is helping implement recruiting systems for businesses. Besides hiring you, what are some advice, some tips that a company can do that maybe they're an installer and they don't have a sales and they're adding sales, now they start recruiting? Any tips or advice you can do to help them get their leg up?
Yeah, well, I mean, if having somebody that's done it before obviously is extremely important. If you need to be able to lean on the leadership that have experience. If you don't have anybody in your organization with experience, find somebody who does. Recruiting isn't as easy to pick up as people think. A lot of people think it's just talking to your friends and asking them if they're interested in hearing about an opportunity. But there's a lot that goes into it: data tracking, early stage retention programs, making sure guys are getting to sales, first impressions with interviewing and whatnot. So I would start off by getting at least a recruiting admin if you plan on hiring more than 10 people a month. because of their existence, because of dedicating all of their time to recruiting, they're going to be able to get far more recruits than you would have because of their ability to spend all of their time focused on the data and the fulfillment and scheduling everybody in calendars and working with the managers. And if you can get somebody that specializes in it, even if you're not super efficient, you'll still get a good amount of results because someone's just putting a lot of time into it. So I would start off by getting an admin if you need more than 10 recruits a month.
Makes sense. I saw you on stage earlier and you were talking about recruiting, and my question is about getting on stage and be able to come to a conference and be able to speak. How does that happen, and how do you prepare, and how, what does it feel like to get up there?
Well, there's the saying that sometimes it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft. You really just have to become the best at what you do. And if you're in a lane where there's a lot of competition, try to maybe find something that there's not so much competition. If maybe try not to be known for having the best door pitch, because you're competing with Mike O'Donnell and Jake Hess and all these guys that Danny Pesci that have all these incredible sales strategies. So maybe find something that makes you somewhat unique, because if you can provide value in a way that that other people need, and you're the best at it, and you're clearly an expert. You're not just good at it, but you're an expert where you can mentor and train other people that want to become experts. That's how you get on stage.
I love that.
I control the flow and get loose. You used to be Solar Joe, now Joe Moose. I'ma break it down on the song like the Fuse. Drop the bomb, yo, the website jokemoose.com.